Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached at the final segment of the conclave. And this, I believe, is my favorite part. Why so? Because this portion is about success stories. Yes, you may have aims and ambitions and technical procedures to approach them, but finally, motivation is something that drives us all. And right at this moment, I will introduce the final segment for the day, which is Real Talk, the inspiring success stories. Let me welcome on stage the speakers. The conversation will be led by Sapna Srivastava, editor, Realty Plus. An architect by qualification, Sapna Srivastava forayed in the field of architectural journalism in the year 2006. As editor of Realty Plus, she is responsible to develop content for the monthly magazine, maintain editorial benchmarks, and ideate new editorial products. She was associated with the Urban Forum, a non-profit organization founded by the Mumbai architects, and was a visiting faculty for the interior design at NIFD Mumbai. Her work has been published in some of the major national newspapers. She has also been a regular guest expert on a TV show for a real estate television channel. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Sapna Srivastava. I will now introduce my speakers in an alphabetical order. Please welcome Gita Balakrishnan, founder, Ethos. Gita founded Ethos in 2002, an organization that works to make the architectural and civil engineering community alive to the changes happening globally, and reaches out to over 35,000 students of architecture and civil engineering from around 600 colleges across India. She is an architect, has done practical training at the Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh, and attended training program on stabilized mud blocks and other alternative methods of construction at IISc Bangalore. She worked as a shelter coordinator in the slums of Bangalore with Avas, an NGO, and is now a trustee. Once again, welcome and put a huge round of applause for Gita Balakrishnan. My next speaker would be J.P. Agrawal, Principal Architect Agrawal and Agrawal. Architect Jaiprakash Agrawal established his architectural firm Agrawal and Agrawal in 1986. After the modest beginning, the firm grew to become well-established and reputed firm of Eastern India, which has now designed various prestigious projects in more than 12 states, completing more than 500 projects in various use group of all scale and nature. Presenting to you, ladies and gentlemen, J.P. Agrawal himself. And my final speaker would be Sanjay Jhunjhunwala, the CEO, Money Group. Mr. Jhunjhunwala, with a simple focus of providing quality housing at the right value, set up Money Group in 1980. He sought to address the basic requirement of shelter, at the same time ensuring superior quality of construction. Today, over 4 decades later, Money Group has blossomed into a highly respected organization with a multi-sector pan-India footprint. It has a footprint that covers West Bengal, Orissa, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and Maharashtra. Today, the group has diversified beyond real estate, with interests in hospitality, retail, healthcare, education, and green power. I'm sure only by listening to their bios, you understand how inspiring they themselves are and what great opportunity would it be to hear from the horse's mouth. Over to the moderator once again.
Thank you, Arunima, for those introductions, and thanks to our speakers for joining for this candid conversation. As we were talking, in the speakers' lounge, Mr. Jhunjhunwala has quite a sense of humor. so, so we will have, I'm looking forward to this very interesting conversation. In the interest of time, we'll straight away dive into the questions that we have. And I would like to take my speakers down the memory lane. Mr. Jhunjhunwala, starting with you. We just heard you started your organization in 1980. At that time, real estate was a completely different ball game. It was a completely different scenario. What attracted you to real estate?
I was forced into it. Nothing. See, those days we used to build homes at 70 rupees a square feet. The profit per square feet was much more. We used to sell at 350, 400 rupees a square feet. I inherited a property with some litigation, some tenants, fought my way out, and then adopted that as a career. So, first project was Money Mansions in Lower Rowden Street, and then the projects took me over.
So the projects took you over.
Yeah.
So it started with money-minded intentions,
No,
and
money, the brand Money actually at times is misread. She's a DT to our family. My father was married twice, so she's my elder mother.
Okay.
So we pray her as DT to our family, and hence the brand Money, M-A-N-I.
Right.
Nothing to do with M-O-N-E-Y.
Okay.
That is always a byproduct,
Okay.
that comes subsequently.
Okay. Similar question to you, architect Agrawal. When you started with your education in architecture, again, completely different scenario. People were not even aware of the role of architect. Carpenter hai, mistri hai, contractor hai, engineer hai. Why do we need an architect? So what prompted you to take that as a career, as a study?
As you rightly mentioned, this is almost 41 years back, and I'm born and brought up in a mid-sized town where, of course, there was no architect. So my grandfather was fond of designing a building, and for many friends and relatives, he used to design building by his knowledge. He had a very good sense of structure and aesthetics both. So I very fondly used to look at some of the buildings designed by him, particularly the carvings and some of the, one semicircular veranda I used to love a lot, designed by him. And my brother was very keen that I become an architect, so he practically forced me to get into the field. So when I reached architecture college and I asked the students over there, yaar, yahan salary kya milega? To bola 400 rupees milega starting. So I was badly disappointed. I called my brother that these people are saying I will get 400 rupees salary. After passing out, what should I do? Because, at that time we had a good business in the family. So I didn't get admission in medical because of my low merits, whatever I achieved in the 12th. And, after that it was engineering. So my brother said that kuch nahi architecture karna hai. So I took architecture. So it's something like that.
So doctor nahi bana, engineer nahi bana,
Architect ban gaya.
So, when we think of architect J.P. Agrawal, we think he must have passion for design, and that's why he took up architecture. So now we know it was by default that you are here in this field.
Luckily.
Okay, good for us. Gita, you have had, you have studied architecture, you're an architect. You also did, studied internationally. You did training in alternate construction methods. You worked with mainstream architects, and then you kind of diverted your path and went into working with NGOs with in terms of social housing. What made you diverge path and get into something completely different?
So I think my tryst with working with architects is very short. Like he said, we had moved to Bangalore. I'd come back from the US after my internship there, and we moved to Bangalore looking for a job. I was getting paid 750 rupees, slightly better than JP, while our driver was being paid 900 rupees. And these are facts. This was really the truth at that point in time. We're talking 1990. And I was very unhappy with the work I was doing too. Incidentally, I did get a job with Chandavarkar and Thakur, and I think Mr. Thakur was completely taken in by the fact that I had visited Falling Water. They were FLW staunch followers. So the minute he saw, he called the entire office at the interview and he said, this lady has come after seeing Falling Water, we should take her. And that's how I got the job. But I decided not to work with CNT because of this whole thing of a big firm versus a small firm. You learn more in a small firm. These are all short-sighted visions that you have when you're young. And in the small firm, I found myself doing things that I completely did not agree with, I was not happy with, it didn't align with me. And I actually responded to an advertisement for a creative educationist in slums. I said, if architecture is not giving me that joy, then I will look at something else that gives me joy. And I responded to an ad. And the lady who answered the phone turned out to be Anita Reddy, who runs Avas. And she said, we need a shelter coordinator, jump on board. And that's how my journey with Avas started. And I think that's the reason Ethos happened. My organization that I set up subsequently when I moved to Kolkata is because my career choice happened by chance, and I wanted it to happen by choice as much as possible, and I thought this platform can help make that happen.
Fantastic. I think, architects making that choice is something that it's been long required. They spoke about their salaries at that point of time. What did you pay architects at that time?
बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सवाल है। बनिए के घर में एक सवाल उठता था कि नक्शा बनाना का इतना पैसा क्यों? Those days, at the dawn of my career, Calcutta was not having great architecture firms. So Kothari Associates was there, San and Sen was there, and Bose Brothers Architects was there.
Right.
Couple of them.
Yeah, there is some.
And some used to ask fee basis percentile, some used to ask fees basis square feet. Then a very peculiar model came in where the scope of architect was split into 3-4 parts. नक्शा बनाने का इतना, supervision का इतना, नक्शा पास कराने का इतना, structural engineer का पैसा आप direct दे दीजिए इतना, और घूस का पैसा कॉर्पोरेशन का इतना, वो आप अपना समझ लीजिए। ये उस समय का हिसाब था। 2 रुपया स्क्वायर फीट, 2.5 रुपया स्क्वायर फीट में, 2 रुपया स्क्वायर फीट में जब मैंने बिल्डिंग पहली बनाई, मनी मेंशंस, तो सैन एंड सेन ने मेरे को याद है 4 रुपया या 5 रुपया स्क्वायर फीट मांगा था, 2.5 रुपया 3 रुपया स्क्वायर फीट में काम किया।
Okay.
उसमें स्ट्रक्चर भी बना दिया था और अमोनिया प्रिंट भी इशू करते थे, अमोनिया का खर्चा भी उनका लगता।
Okay, it's good we have come a long way. All the architects here are laughing and they are thinking how fortunate we all are.
From there, madam, when I built this hotel, I have paid per square feet consultant's fee ranging to about, say, 400 to 500 rupees a square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not what you have paid.
Right.
It is what you have got in lieu of your payment.
That is right.
That is what is the question.
Mm-hmm.
So those days, the delivery was much more, but I do need to admit that the quality was much inferior.
Okay.
The quality of working drawings were not that class. The supervision was virtually missing. The coordination was not there. Once the drawings were issued, the contractors used to take over the site.
Mm-hmm.
We were also not that clever and equipped then.
Mm-hmm.
It was only because that the architects were less competent that we started having our own architects appointed in our office.
Right, right.
And slowly, we are now where we are.
If in one sentence you have to define architecture, what according to you is architecture? Because as a developer, it's not only aesthetics, but finance, markets, customer experience, a lot of things come in play. So in one sentence, if you have to say.
Architecture to me, I'll answer this in a different manner. If you ask me, what is architecture to me?
Right.
If that is the question, architecture is to me, is to get something designed which I cannot imagine.
Okay.
When we built the tallest structure of India, the 42, you will not believe that, architect Hafiz Contractor is a master architect.
Right.
He, sitting on a table, he can give you at least 40, 50, 60 options of a design in the next 4, 5, 6 hours. He will take a pencil and a paper, he will
Right.
scribble it. And
He's still
subsequently
into
the
pencil
office.
and paper, yeah.
So, 42, when we started designing, we had a particular mindset. And what ultimately he designed has been completely different. Yes, we were not able to build owing to limitation from
Right.
of the local bylaws as to what he designed, but still, today, for a property to command 35,000 odd rupees per square feet in this part of the country
That's huge.
speaks volumes about the property
Yes,
itself.
that's huge, yeah.
So 42, we couldn't imagine that we will be building such a building. It is only, it emerged sitting on the table with Hafiz that we can do this.
Right.
And we did it.
Right. So according to
One more thing, while I'm talking about the construction of 20s, 2020s, I'll take you back to 85, 86 when JP first came to Calcutta. So he took a flat on rent in one of the buildings which I was developing, Money Mansions. He just started. So the owner of that flat introduced me to him. So then I was, pleasantly surprised that some architect has come in Calcutta who can design bungalows with slope roofs, who can design bungalows with corner windows. Because उसके पहले तो windows ही छोटी बनती थी मैडम.
correct, correct.
पहले तो हम लोगों की विंडोज ही छोटी, पुरानी जितनी बिल्डिंगें हमारी बनाई हुई है उसमें विंडो छोटी बनती थी बिकॉज ब्रिकवर्क का कॉस्ट स्टील विंडोज से कम पड़ता
Correct.
था. तो we used to have a barter between windows and brickwork. So brickwork was increased because window में cost ज़्यादा लगेगा. कंस्ट्रक्शन को 70 रुपए स्क्वायर फीट में बनाना है, बिल्डिंग है 300 रुपए में 250 रुपए में बेचनी है, जमीन के पैसे भी निकालने हैं, सब करने हैं. So ये सारे कैलकुलेशंस थे.
Right, right. So according to Mr. Jhunjhunwala, architecture is something which is beyond imagination of an owner.
Yes.
Architect Agrawal, if you have to define architecture, because for everyone, they perceive architecture in a different way. They look at a building in a different way. If you have to define architecture in one sentence, what it would be?
I will put it in this way, madam, that, for me, the user and the functionality together creates architecture. If you go back and we understand how we evolved from a hunter-gatherers, and we thought of building a shelter. From there, the idea came of a house, that we needed something to, for the comfort, to protect ourselves from the harsh environment. So from there, we have come where we are in a civilized manner. But at the same time, we must understand that we stay with our DNA where we were, and we would like to remain close to the nature.
Right.
And we are trying to, there's a contrast. We are trying to hide from a nature, and we want to go close to the nature.
Right.
So, the architecture is all about, balancing this thing.
Yeah, so combining the two, to
Yeah,
protect from
combining.
the nature, the weather
Yes.
elements, but also to be part of the nature, to be
Yes.
one with the nature.
Yes.
Gita, what would your definition be if one sentence is given to you?
One sentence, it would be expression. Architecture is expression of aspirations, of lives and lifestyles. If you look at, it's like a byproduct of, people and time in a sense.
Okay.
And, buildings are supposed to tell stories of a place, of a people, of a time, and a context.
That's
And,
right.
yeah,
I think
that's-
context is something,
Yes.
because a building should look like that it is part of that
It belongs.
context.
It
Yeah,
belongs.
it belongs there, that time, that space, and to that people. Coming to the next segment of this conversation, which will be more about the work of our speakers. Architect Agrawal, again, you've been in this industry for 4 decades now, more than that. You've seen how the entire building and construction sector has evolved over the years. What are the biggest 2 or 3 changes, good or bad, that have created a paradigm shift in the design and building and construction sector? 2 or 3, that comes to your mind.
So the good change is definitely the technology. The technology of construction has transformed, number one. Number two, which has transformed what we do today as an architect, is certainly the economy. The economy has changed from where it was to where we are today. I remember that at that time, the largest building which we used to consider a big project is a 60,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet. And today we are with the large
Right.
complex and the large projects.
Right.
Economy made it possible to build the such class of JW Marriott.
Correct.
So I think the technology and economy together have played a very big role. At the same time, I will say that how the building materials have evolved in particularly last 1 decade, that has also made a big transformation in the way the buildings are pursued by the architects.
So technology, economy, the economy of scale has grown quite big. And then the building materials, the kind of advanced materials that we have today are, I think, and we all agree that these are some of the 3 very big shifts that we have seen. Architect Gita, according to you, what, you've been, first of all, I think we should give a big round of applause to Architect Gita Balakrishnan for the walk that she did from Kolkata to Delhi. 1,700 kilometers over 2 months to create design awareness. And now the next walk she has planned is from Kolkata to Bangladesh. So
That's over.
oh, that's over. I'm so sorry. So that's another one to her kitty, and I'm sheer determination and effort on her part. In your interactions with people, whether it was from Kolkata to Delhi or from Kolkata to Bangladesh, how has been the interaction of people with the built spaces? What is their understanding of what is building, what is built space, what is architecture?
I think their understanding of design is very deep, but their knowledge of who an architect is zero. We do not exist for most people, and I think that's very alarming. We were listening to the earlier panel talking about the relevance in cities and us bringing about a change in the way people think and design here. But I think what was more scary for me as I walked was the complete change in buildscape that is happening at a very rapid pace. I saw some very beautiful buildings that one can learn from, for sure, that tell the story of the time, the place, and the people, like I said, you're talking about, and complete cradle-to-cradle sustainable ways of construction because they are built as labor of love by, people with their own hands. But then they are learning from us here in the cities and taking back some of that knowledge back into their villages, and that's something that I'm seeing as a huge change in the buildscape. And one other thing, since we are talking on this, we as designers, some of us present here, and as the realty sector as well, I think it's important to bridge that gap with the construction worker. Construction workers need to know that architects exist and that there is someone called an architect, because many of them are migrant. And if they go back to their cities and talk about architects, then the word of designers, importance of design and power of design also kind of gets taken there. I had very, very interesting interactions where every bit of the home was designed for the owner, exactly what JP is saying, where JP is doing it for somebody else, they're doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
So it was very beautiful.
So
yes.
they are aware of what the buildings can do for them.
Absolutely.
How they, but the only
Absolutely.
thing is probably they are picking up the wrong things from
When
the
they're
cities.
upgrading and using newer materials and newer systems, they often don't know. They
Don't
lose
know.
their way.
So they need to be guided.
They
what's
lose
the
their
best
way, yes.
for their this thing. Architect Jhunjhunwala, again, you've been the veteran. Mr. Jhunjhunwala, you've been part of this industry for so long. Kolkata, you've been here all your life. You've been part of this Kolkata real estate for so long. What are the two, top of your mind, 2 or 3 biggest changes that you have seen in Kolkata real estate over the years?
See, Calcutta has now started believing in providing more than adequate car parking spaces narrow streets, narrow lanes, very few highways traveling through the city. So the biggest change what has happened is that we builders have now aligned ourselves with providing right number of car parks, or maybe something more than the right number of car parks. That is the first good change that is happening. Second is now people have started believing in going vertical. With ample or more than ample open space in the complex. So three advantages are there in such construction. First is that you are much above the pollution level. Number two, the gray and green is managed well. And number three, sophistication comes in, and high quality material obviously needs to be used if you are a tall building.
Right.
So these two changes are very much visible,
Okay.
more so over the last 10-15 years.
Yeah, that we also saw Kolkata is now going vertical rather than expanding horizontally. So it is going vertical. A lot of
We
tall.
are fortunate that we have contributed the most to this as far as Calcutta is
Okay,
concerned.
fantastic. So my next question is, I'll go to Architect Agrawal first. You've seen all the challenges, in this field. And earlier we used to say architect is the captain of the ship, which probably is not so much now with so many consultants, so many specialists working on the project. It's more like, architect not only has to design, but has to be a coordinator, has to be a marketeer as well. So what, according to you, does one need to be successful in this field as an architect?
I think this is a very difficult question, and it is furthermore difficult when Sanjay Babu is sitting aside. So, see, the thing is that, of course, the first stage for the architect is a presentation to the client. And if you are a good presenter, if you can do a good render nowadays, you can make a good
So it is not just about good design.
Then you can convince and you can sell your design better.
So you need to be a good convincer also.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're a good presenter. And in our college time also, since there was no 3D visualization possible at that time, so a lot of stress was given on the rendering, and we were taught the rendering and all. But over the period, I realized that I'm wasting my time in doing the presentations. So, I don't care for the presentation, to be honest, on my side. Okay. So I always say that look at my building when I complete my project. And I don't expect from me, if at all you want to judge everything at this stage, then sorry, I can't make you judge. Then if at all you can judge on the plan, please judge it. All right. So this is the way I deal today, as of now. But to the young architects, I would always say that, of course, you have to be a good presenter, then you can sell your project. Now, see, to me, one is a short-term success and another is a long-term success. The long-term success comes when you are really able to deliver. So, as an architect, you have to know the things, which makes the building really good at the end and sustainable. Whether people appreciate it or not, because sometimes you make a fancy building with the fencing building material which are not sustainable, but at the end of the day you get satisfied after 20 years looking at your building, which I do definitely by seeing the building which has sustained the period of say 25-30 years. So to me sustainability matters a lot, rather than going with the fancy short-term vision.
Yeah.
That is the way I see.
So first, conviction in yourself, be a good, hard work and be a good presenter, architect J.P. Agrawal has said.
I'm not, I'm saying.
So once you cross the presentation stage, then have good conviction in yourself, then you can, convince the client to believe in your work. Gita, you have, you work with, as you mentioned, you have Ethos where you work with students, architectural students, engineering students. What is your top advice to the young students to establish themselves in the field?
So there'd be two different kinds of advice. One is, of course, to establish themselves in the field, would be things that JP said, and a lot of patience is what I would say, especially in a field like architecture. But having reached where I have and done what I have, I think it's important, while I speak of patience, I would tell them to look at freedom and responsibility as two sides of the same coin. You have the freedom to design responsibly, to make responsible choices. I think that's something we were speaking in the previous session as well. I think it's important for them to realize that they need to go beyond the brief, and their extent or their responsibility does not end with their site. Having seen the different people I have seen along the way, I think every action you take in a building here has an impact everywhere else. There's a lot of interconnectedness, and I think that's something that they need to think about. And the other thing, I think, which would probably help in their career for sure, very often there are youngsters who feel they're staring at, despondency in this field. But I think collective is the strength. I think they need to hang in there together, and you grow when you share. And these are things I would say, and I think they need to not just take this as philosophical messages, but really realize that there is great strength in doing things together. So even when you're fighting certain irregularities, and when you do them together, you're likely to kind of overcome those
So
things.
patience, with freedom comes responsibility, or as like in Spider-Man says, with power comes responsibility. So that's one message from Gita. Mr. Jhunjhunwala, in real estate, again, today the times are completely different. Many more regulations are there. Financial discipline is required. Financial prudence is required. How easy or difficult it is to become a developer in today's time?
You should try to be one. If you can be there, otherwise get excluded. You can't stop people to become a builder. I have seen people who are in retail business investing money in real estate and calling themselves as builders. People running fashion stores, investing money in real estate, calling themselves as builders. Thanks to RERA, thanks to the stability metrics which we today work on, that the trade has become disciplined. With such compliances, requirements, I'm sure the quality of construction, the discipline towards the consumer will increase, rather have increased many-fold. But for the fly-by-the-night operators, it is tough time.
Yeah.
People who put in their 110% will continue in this business. People who wanted to be builder by putting in their 10% time, for them the time is over.
So sincerity
I feel not only sincerity, real estate was thought as a tool of making money.
Right.
Which today,
It's not the case.
from a business where there was a 70 to 80% EBITDA, it has now come down to about 18 to 20%, 17, 18, 20% EBITDA.
Right.
And one has to run a huge office, a huge legal setup, as well as a huge follow-up team, that after the construction is delivered, you are responsible now for 5 long years.
Right.
So transparency is there. People can start, looking at your title deeds, your sanction plan, and more even nowadays these WhatsApp groups. So the flat holders get converted into a
Whole community.
into a community while the building is under construction. Somebody pointing finger at windows, somebody pointing finger at the window, at the railing, somebody telling that Jacquard is not the best quality of CP fittings which should be used, something better than Jacquard should be used.
Yeah.
And all these things, ultimately somebody who seemingly is in, is concerned about you, sends you snapshots of those WhatsApp chats.
Correct.
So the builder is put into a tizzy, that every step that you are walking is being monitored.
Right.
So the business is no more an easy business. It is positively a business which can be dealt with only by people who put in their 110%.
Yeah. So only the serious people who
Yes.
really want to be in this business,
Yes.
it's not a business to make quick buck and then,
It was
leave.
so easy
It is
some
not
time back,
anymore.
people in share market, that what are you in? We do arbitrage, we do trading, we do real estate. That was the visiting card, Now, positively,
It's not
that will not
there
work.
anymore. Okay, fantastic. I think we got a lot of insights there. Now we'll go to the rapid fire question, not because I want to do rapidly, but because our time is running out rapidly. So,
Time is over.
We'll take some few minutes extra, and these questions are for all our speakers. What is that you like the most and the least about your work? Architect Agrawal.
Would you like the most?
What is that you like the most and the least about your work?
Of course, I enjoy doing design and I love my profession and I always thank God,
Okay.
that if the going
So
back to the
design
first
is what you
question,
like the most, right?
Yeah, of course, designing the building is the thing which
Okay,
I like
and
the
the
most.
least.
And the least one which I like, which I like is to deal with the statutory bodies.
Okay. Okay. Gita, what about you?
Fortunately, I think the thing I like the most is the start of my workday, and the one that I dislike the most is the end of my workday. I really love what I do.
But that
yeah.
was a very diplomatic answer.
Well,
But
it's the truth. I mean, there's so much that I enjoy what I do. I don't have anything that I
okay, we'll do it offline. Mr. Jhunjhunwala, what is the most you like about your work and the least that you like about your work?
The least what I like about my work is if my flat holder comes and complains.
Okay.
The most I like about what I have delivered or what I have worked is when my flat holder money is multiplied 3-4 times.
Okay. Coming back to money part, okay.
Yeah, anybody who has bought a property from me, if his money is multiplied 3-4
Yes,
times, I'm
that's
very
true.
happy.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good answer, definitely. Continuing with you,
Yes.
I'm sure you have had a lot of achievements over the years, uncountable. So this is a tough question. One achievement that you are really proud of.
If you tell me to select the day which I liked the most in my business career, that was the day when I blessed 150 MBBS doctors. We also have a medical college.
Right.
So the day I gave them stethoscope and gown, that was the day when I felt that, see, what we do in real estate, it is sugar in hot water when we sell the real estate. When we operate a real estate, that is a mall or a hotel, then positively people know that this belongs to such and such person or this person is created.
Correct.
Otherwise, an office or a residence, if sold, it is sugar in hot water. But when you contribute 150 doctors to the society, and you know that 150 pair of hands will treat people starting tomorrow, that is where you feel really good. I am blessed to train doctors.
I think that deserves a round of applause for Mr. Jhunjhunwala. For you also, Architect Agrawal, one accomplishment that you are really proud of, out of all.
While introducing me, madam, you mentioned about the number of the projects I did. Okay, I don't consider that as my achievement, to be very honest. The number does not count.
Correct.
What really counts is at the end of the day, how satisfied you are with your work. I always say one thing to my associates that, Sachin Tendulkar, when goes to the crease, he also knows that he may be out at 0 or he may score 100. Okay? Every time you go on a screen, you may not score 100, but what counts that how many times you could score 100.
Right.
So to me also, when I design the project and I look at my work till date, what matters to me that how many times I could succeed.
Okay.
And that comes from my clients, that comes from my friends, users.
That's nice. That's definitely nice. Gita, one accomplishment that you are proud of.
It feels very good when you say visit a college, or I mean, even when I was in Boston recently, one of the young girls came to me in an office and she said, I took part in your competition and you responded to me in this way and I took your advice. So there are many people that in a college, there was a head of department who had gone through the competitions that we've done and the activities that we've conducted. So it feels really nice to see about 40,000 youngsters who are now accomplished architects. You talk about someone like Ankon Mitra, who's now architecture and an expert, was the first winner of the quiz that I ran.
So when the students achieve something, so
Yes.
that is the achievement that you feel
Yes,
very
it's
proud
mine,
of.
yes, I see
Okay,
reflected in
fantastic.
them.
I think we had such a wonderful, thanks to our speakers for such an interesting session. And we couldn't have asked for a better finale to this entire conclave than this conversation, which is not only informative, insightful, but also very heartwarming. So thanks to our speakers for that very straightforward and candid conversation indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, for being here with us today, Architect J.P. Agrawal and Architect Gita Balakrishnan for sharing your honest views and opinions with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we believe that real life experiences are something that really, really motivate us. And what a motivational session. And now I would request a token of appreciations to be presented to our speakers. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to all of you for making this edition of Realty Plus Conclave 2023 East so exciting and so thought-provoking. And thanks to all of you for being such a wonderful audience. We'd now take a short break. Well, that's what we'll call team motivation. Give them a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.